Madam Chair, I hope the rest of your testimony goes as quickly today before the committee. Good morning, Chairwoman Kushner, Chairman Sanchez, Ranking Member Sampson, Ranking Member Ackert, and distinguished members of the Labor Committee. I am here today to testify in support of Senate Bill 831, an act concerning amusement parks and the employment of individuals at least 14 years of age. I thank the committee for raising this bill for consideration. And I have with me, if you'll indulge me, I have George Francis, who is the owner of Quasi Amusement Park in Middlebury, one of the oldest amusement parks in Connecticut and actually in the nation, multiple generations, who I would like to yield my time to let him explain to you why this bill is so important and should be considered for ultimately a vote, and wouldn't it be great to have the governor sign it? So, Madam Chair, if I may yield my time to Mr. Francis. Thank you.
And Mr. Francis, just please, when you just state your name again for the record.
Yes, my name is George Francis. I'm the owner, one of the co-owners of Quasi Amusement Park located in Middlebury, Connecticut. We're celebrating our 115th year of operation in the state, proudly, by the way. I've submitted a letter regarding my research into the bills or the laws that exist now as far as labor is concerned. And there are some ambiguities that I think, or sort of, let's say, gray matter that I think has made it difficult for me. In the past, we have been able to employ 14 and 15-year-olders, and about 20 years ago, maybe even 15, as far back as that, until a labor enforcement officer came and said, you can no longer hire 14 and 15-year-olders. To my question was why? And to their statement was, because you're in a hazardous work environment. And so I proceeded to ask what that really meant. And basically it came down to that there's machinery around where these kids would be working. And I said, but I have retail establishments, I have clerical, all the things that are legitimately viable job performance areas where these kids can work. And his comment was basically, well, an amusement park is considered a hazardous work environment. If you had a Quasi amusement park retail store business and they were receiving a check from that department, then by all means they could work. So, you know, at the time, labor was pretty fruitful, and I said, okay, and we no longer hired 14 and 15-year-olders, and we moved on. In today's world, obviously, with the labor shortages where they are, and everybody grasping for employment or people to employ, I just thought it'd be a good time to revisit this thing. And conversely, as far as our businesses, us and Lake Compounds, who we are hand in hand, unfortunately, they're in the middle of a transition as far as management is concerned. So I don't have my partners with me in crime, but we consider ourselves educators. And, you know, we take these young adults and we get them out of sitting at home playing video games, and we get them out and we teach these kids responsibility, time management, how to interact with people in today's world. Get off your phone and do things. We follow all the regulations for hiring these young kids, timeline of when they have to be home by, the amount of hours they have to work in a given week. So we have all the parameters that I believe we follow very well to I think revisit the ability to hire 14 and 15-year-olds. And so that's why I'm in front of your committee again to support the bill 831 and answer any questions do you think that might be pertinent to make this come to fruition.
Thank you. Are there comments or questions? Representative Ackert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for being here again, because I know we bumped it to 15, didn't we, in the past?
So, Representative, I think 2 years ago, the committee took up and passed the bill that allowed for 16-year-olds under proper supervision and training to operate amusement park rides. That was the bill that we successfully passed. And I think Mr. Francis, if the committee is so inclined, can speak to an operating day this past summer where, if not for the provision of that bill, he would not have been able to open the park. He didn't have enough 18-year-olds, which was the limit before.
Okay, that's those operators. I knew there was something. We've been working on amusement parks for a while.
We have, yeah.
Eric
We
has
tried
been
last year
taking
for
the-
this.
He's
Thank
been
you.
doing his job, even back when he was state rep, when I was. he was
Thank you,
better-
Representative.
But just, that's okay. You don't need to indulge in that. So, but I appreciate that. I was trying to file if it was the retail portion of it. So it's still 16 that can work at a concession stand type of thing?
Well, quite frankly, there's a lot of gray matter. And if you read through it, it says, has amusements are a hazardous work environment. And then it says see section, I'm paraphrasing 3B. And you go there and it just goes into the hours and the standard formats that we could easily follow. And so I think the problem with this is it's pretty antiquated law. And back in the day when carnivals would come into town, the ticket booths or a lot of the concessions were right next to a ride and thus near machinery. And that's, I think, where the exclamation point comes into play. Whereas if I could subsidize, again, because being able to utilize the older kids in the proper locations and subsidize 14 and 15-year-olders, get them my dad used to say, get the camel's head in the tent, the body's going to follow. And so if I could get these kids to start off at these menial clerical tasks, maybe selling tickets or clerical work or in my retail stores, and then cultivate them. I could have these kids for 3 or 4 years and really develop hardworking kids with some work ethic.
So the catch is it's amusement park is what's the holdup is.
Quite frankly, yes.
Thank you so much for being here. I'll review that. I'll work with the attorneys and work on that and take a look at it. So thank you for being here and thank you again, Madam Chair.
I greatly thank you for giving me the time.
Thank you, Representative Wilson.
Good morning. Thank you for coming again. Just a small question. So a situation like this where if the bill was to move forward, how does it affect, how many individual employees do you see yourself possibly employing in an instance like this?
That's a very good question. And again, I think if you broaden the horizon, so to speak, to even like compounds, it's not a significant number, but it's a great tool for training and grooming. And, I can only speak for myself, but, I'm looking at maybe a dozen or two positions within the park that could free up another dozen or two older kids to do the more hazardous tasks that are at an amusement park, which I think are pretty nominal anyway.
How many do you hire seasonally?
The question was, how many students do we hire seasonally? Last year, I think we were over the 400 or 500 range.
And actually, that was the next question I was going to ask. So thank you for that. The last question I would have is, are there other states that already kind of have it in this where they allow this
Great
age
question.
range?
Connecticut, in my research, is the only state that doesn't allow 14 and 15-year-olds to work at an amusement park. And because I also have a letter submitted from which we're members of, the New England Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions. And in my research to find out just that question, they couldn't come up with one.
Thank you.